What if one of the greatest love stories in Hollywood wasn't finished? What if the fairy tale that made the world believe in second chances had one more chapter to tell? Imagine Julia Roberts stepping back into the shoes of Vivian Ward, not as the young woman who dreamed of a better life, but as someone who has lived it, lost some of it, and is ready to fight for love again. This is Pretty Woman 2, A Second Chance. Back in 1990, the world didn't just watch a movie, they experienced a cultural event. Pretty Woman wasn't supposed to be a timeless fairy tale. At first, it was written as a darker story about a businessman and a woman struggling on the streets of Los Angeles. But something magical happened. When Julia Roberts and Richard Gere came together, the story transformed into something much bigger, a modern Cinderella tale. Julia Roberts, with her wide smile and magnetic charm, became the heartbeat of the movie. Her character, Vivian Ward, wasn't just a love interest. She was bold, funny, and unapologetically real. When she walked into that high-end boutique on Rodeo Drive and declared, "Big mistake, huge," the world cheered. That moment didn't just belong to the character. It became a piece of movie history. The film made over $460 million worldwide, turning Julia Roberts into a global star. She became Hollywood's ultimate leading lady, nicknamed America's Sweetheart. And Richard Gere, with his calm elegance as Edward Lewis, became the perfect match to her energy. Their chemistry was electric, effortless, and unforgettable. But more than box office numbers, Pretty Woman changed the way people looked at romance on screen. It wasn't just about a man saving a woman or vice versa. It was about two people changing each other's lives. Edward helped Vivian believe she was worthy of love, and Vivian helped Edward remember that money wasn't everything. Their story wasn't about power, it was about transformation. The movie also shaped fashion, culture, and music. Roxette's "It Must Have Been Love" became an anthem for heartbreak and hope. Women everywhere copied Julia's iconic red dress and white tank top look. The film gave voice to those who had been ignored, showing that love and respect can come from the most unexpected places. And then, silence. For decades, fans begged for a sequel, but Hollywood never made one. Julia Roberts moved on to more serious dramas, winning an Oscar for Erin Brockovich. She stayed away from romantic comedies, saying she couldn't find scripts good enough. Richard Gere, too, chose quieter, more mature roles. The idea of seeing Vivian and Edward again felt impossible, like a dream that would never come true. But now, after 35 years, the dream is real. Julia Roberts is coming back, and not just as Vivian, but as a woman who has lived a full life, with scars, regrets, and wisdom. Pretty Woman 2. A Second Chance isn't just a sequel, it's a promise. A promise to show us what happens after happily ever after. Because fairy tales don't end when the credits roll. They grow, they change, and sometimes they need a second chance. Not all fairy tales end with happily ever after. Some continue, twisting and bending with time, showing us that even love stories must face reality. In Pretty Woman 2, A Second Chance, the glitter of Rodeo Drive has faded, the limo rides are gone, and life has left its marks on Vivian and Edward. It's been more than 3 decades since they first found each other. Edward Lewis, once the cold businessman who learned how to love, is now older, wiser, but also more fragile. He's built a legacy in the corporate world, but at what cost? Years of chasing power have left him questioning what truly matters. His empire is strong, but his heart feels empty. Vivian Ward, on the other hand, has lived a life beyond anyone's imagination. She embraced the second chance Edward gave her, stepping out of the shadow of her past to create a future she could be proud of. No longer just the pretty woman, she became a force in her own right, an advocate for women finding their voices, a woman who turned pain into purpose. But even the strongest hearts carry hidden scars. Behind the sparkle of her smile, Vivian has known heartbreak, disappointment, and loss. The sequel asks a simple but powerful question. What happens when two people who once saved each other must face the test of time? In this story, Edward and Vivian are not perfect lovers frozen in a fairy tale. They're human. They've made mistakes, grown apart at times, and struggled to keep love alive in a world that constantly pulls people in different directions. But fate is not done with them. A new chapter begins when Edward faces a turning point. His company, his health, and even his family are in turmoil. He's forced to step back to reconsider everything. And at his side, Vivian must decide if love is still enough or if the years have changed them too much. But the heart of Pretty Woman 2 isn't just about Edward and Vivian. It's about the world around them. A younger generation enters the story. Children who carry both their charm and their flaws. New rivals who question Edward's old way of doing business. And fresh faces who remind Vivian of the woman she used to be. This generational clash adds fire to the story, showing how love and ambition collide across time. And then comes the twist, an unexpected threat that shakes their world. For Edward, it's the fear of losing everything he built. For Vivian, it's the risk of losing the man she still loves. The story is no longer about money or makeovers. It's about survival, about rediscovering the reasons they fell in love in the first place. The tone of the sequel is deeper, richer, and more emotional than the first film. It isn't just about fairy tale romance, it's about second chances, about the courage to forgive, to rebuild, and to believe in love when the world tells you it's too late. Because sometimes, the real test of love isn't how it begins, but how it survives the years. And this time, Vivian and Edward are not just fighting for each other. They're fighting for their family, their legacy, and the story that once inspired millions. This is not just a return. It's a reckoning. Pretty Woman 2 promises to show us that the greatest love stories don't end. They evolve. And maybe, just maybe, the fairy tale can rise again. There are actors who make movies. And then there are actors who define an era. Julia Roberts belongs to the second group. In the 1990s, she wasn't just a star, she was a symbol of hope, charm, and joy. Her laugh could light up a theater, her presence could carry a story, and her roles became cultural milestones. But what makes her return in Pretty Woman 2? A second chance so extraordinary isn't just nostalgia. It's the fact that Julia Roberts has been absent from the very genre she once ruled. For years, Roberts walked away from romantic comedies. She turned down scripts saying she couldn't find one worthy of her return. Hollywood kept offering her roles, but none could match the magic of Vivian Ward. Instead, she took on serious, dramatic performances. She won an Academy Award for Erin Brockovich. She tested herself in thrillers, political dramas, and family films. Julia grew as an artist, but the audience never stopped missing her as the woman who made them believe in love. Now her comeback is more than just a role. It's a homecoming. Stepping back into Vivian Ward's world after 35 years isn't just about acting. It's about reconnecting with millions of fans who grew up with her. For older audiences, it's a chance to relive the magic of 1990, when the world fell in love with her smile. For younger audiences, it's a rare chance to see why Julia Roberts became the queen of Hollywood in the first place. But Julia's comeback carries something even more powerful: timing. In 2025, the world of cinema is different. Audiences no longer want shallow romances. They crave depth, complexity, and realism. Julia's Vivian isn't a wide-eyed dreamer anymore. She's a woman shaped by life. And who better to play that than Roberts herself? A woman who has lived her own journey of triumphs, challenges, and reinvention. Her return also symbolizes something larger. In Hollywood, actresses often fade into the background once they cross a certain age. Roles shrink, opportunities vanish, and the spotlight moves on. But Julia Roberts, with her return to Pretty Woman 2, challenges that system. She shows that women's stories don't end at 40, 50, or 60. They evolve, and they deserve to be told with honesty and passion. When Roberts appears on screen again as Vivian, it won't just be acting, it will be a statement. A reminder that beauty, strength, and love are not bound by youth. That second chances aren't just for characters in films, but for actors, for stories, and for audiences too. The excitement around her comeback is electric. Fans are already calling it one of the biggest returns in movie history. Studios are banking on the nostalgia wave, but it's more than money. It's about emotion. It's about seeing Julia walk down Rodeo Drive again, this time with grace earned through years, not innocence lost. Her comeback is the beating heart of Pretty Woman 2, a second chance. Without Julia Roberts, there would be no story worth telling. With her, the movie becomes more than a sequel. It becomes a cultural event. A moment where Hollywood's past and future meet in one powerful performance. Because Julia Roberts isn't just coming back to play Vivian. She's coming back to remind the world why she was and still is America's sweetheart. And this time she's here to prove that even fairy tales can grow older, wiser, and more beautiful than ever before. A love story is never told by one face alone. While Julia Roberts' return as Vivian Ward is the heart of Pretty Woman 2, a second chance, The film's strength will also depend on the world built around her. Who stands at her side? Who challenges her? And who redefines the story for a new generation? First, there's the question every fan is asking. Will Richard Gere return as Edward Lewis? For many, his calm presence, silver hair, and timeless charm are just as essential to the fairy tale as Vivian's bold spirit. To see them together again, older, wiser, but still bound by that spark, would be the ultimate reward for fans who have waited decades. Gere's Edward doesn't need to be the slick businessman anymore. In this story, he could be the man reckoning with his past choices, fighting to keep love alive and learning what true success really means. But no great sequel can rely on nostalgia alone. That's where a younger cast comes in. Imagine Edward and Vivian's grown daughter, a character who embodies both her mother's fierce independence and her father's sharp intellect. She could be at the center of modern conflicts, running her own business, navigating love in the digital age, and challenging her parents' old-fashioned ideas. She isn't just a side character, she's a mirror, forcing Vivian and Edward to confront how much the world has changed. Then there's the idea of rivals. Maybe a slick new businessman, someone who reminds Edward of his younger self, hungry for money, blind to love. Or a glamorous figure from Vivian's past, a reminder of the woman she used to be, testing how far she's really come. These characters wouldn't just add drama, they'd bring tension, humor, and fresh energy, pulling the story forward instead of leaving it stuck in the past. And let's not forget the supporting roles that made Pretty Woman unforgettable. The hotel manager, Barney, played by Hector Elizondo, was more than comic relief. He was a quiet guardian angel, guiding Vivian with kindness. If he returns, he could play that role again, this time as a mentor to the next generation. His presence would feel like a bridge between the past and the future. Beyond casting, the creative direction of the film is what will truly set it apart. Pretty Woman 2 cannot simply recycle old scenes, it must reimagine them. Think of Rodeo Drive, not just as a fashion playground, but as a battlefield of status in today's influencer-driven culture. Think of Edward's corporate empire, not as a backdrop for wealth, but as a crumbling symbol of the old world, threatened by startups and modern innovation. Visually, the film must balance nostalgia with modern flair. The red dress moment? It has to return, but not as a copy. Instead, it could be Vivian's daughter stepping out in her own statement look, with Julia watching proudly from the sidelines. The limo ride at the end of the first film? Maybe now it's Edward watching Vivian drive herself, showing she no longer needs saving. These callbacks aren't just fan service, they're emotional echoes showing how far the characters have come. Tone-wise, the film can't be pure comedy like the first. This is romance blended with drama, sprinkled with humor but grounded in reality. The laughter will come from moments of truth, awkward family dinners, generational misunderstandings, and tender conversations about aging, love, and regret. The soundtrack, too, will play a vital role. Imagine classics like It Must Have Been Love returning, but paired with new anthems that capture today's spirit. The music becomes the soul of the film, bridging the gap between old and new audiences. Ultimately, the creative direction of Pretty Woman 2 is about balance. It must honor what came before without being trapped by it. It must give fans what they crave: romance, glamour, and Julia Roberts' radiant smile, while also delivering something bold, fresh, and meaningful. Because this isn't just a sequel. It's a second chance for a love story. A cast and an audience that has grown up, stumbled, and is now ready to fall in love all over again. December 2025. The month when cinemas across the world will light up with a story the world thought it would never see again. Hollywood is calling it a holiday event. But for millions of fans, it feels more like a reunion with an old friend. Pretty Woman 2. A second chance isn't just a movie release, it's a cultural milestone. The kind of film people circle on calendars months in advance. Studios know exactly what they're holding in their hands. This isn't a quiet indie project, it's positioned as one of the biggest romantic dramas of the decade. December, after all, is more than a release window. It's when families gather, when nostalgia feels strongest, and when audiences crave hope, joy, and warmth. By choosing this date, the filmmakers are making a statement. This movie isn't just entertainment, it's a gift. The marketing is already stirring waves of anticipation. Imagine posters glowing with Julia Roberts' iconic smile, older now but more powerful than ever. Imagine trailers that begin with familiar music, only to reveal a richer, more emotional story unfolding. Every shot, every line of dialogue will be designed to spark goosebumps. For fans of the original, it's a trip back in time. For new viewers, it's an invitation into a fairy tale that has grown wiser with age. The hype doesn't stop at promotion. Social media has become a battlefield of excitement. TikTok creators are recreating scenes from the original movie. Instagram is filled with fan edits of Julia Roberts and Richard Gere side by side, blending the past with the present. Even fashion brands are preparing for the cultural wave, reviving looks inspired by Vivian's legendary red gown and thigh-high boots. Just like in 1990, the film isn't just about cinema, it's about culture, style, and identity. But what makes the anticipation even more electric is the emotional weight of Julia Roberts' return. Audiences aren't just buying tickets to watch a film, they're buying tickets to witness history. It's rare for a star of her caliber to step back into a role that defined her career after so many decades. People want to see how Vivian Ward has changed, because in many ways they've changed too. For fans who first saw the movie in their youth, this sequel feels deeply personal. It's not just Vivian and Edward getting a second chance, it's the audience getting one too. The box office projections are already sky high. Industry experts predict the film will dominate December, challenging even superhero blockbusters. Why? Because superheroes inspire with fantasy, but Pretty Woman 2 inspires with reality. The kind of reality where love is complicated, messy, and beautiful. It taps into something primal, the longing for connection, the hope that no matter how much time has passed, love can still be found, rebuilt, and celebrated. And the release will not only be about theaters. Expect streaming platforms to fight for rights after the cinematic run. Expect behind-the-scenes specials, interviews with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, and retrospectives on the original film to flood TV networks and online channels. In December 2025, you won't just watch Pretty Woman 2. You'll live it, breathe it, and feel it everywhere. The hype, the timing, the nostalgia. It all points to one undeniable truth. This isn't just another sequel. It's an event, a gathering of generations under one roof, united by a love story that refuses to fade. When the lights dim and Julia Roberts appears on screen once more, audiences won't just be watching a character. They'll be watching a memory come alive again. Because sometimes, movies aren't just movies. Sometimes they're reminders that stories like people can grow older, stronger, and more meaningful. And in December 2025, the world will witness it. The rebirth of a fairy tale. Pretty Woman 2. A second chance. Some movies are remembered, but a few become part of who we are. Pretty Woman was never just a film. It was a heartbeat of the 1990s, a story that taught millions to believe in love, in transformation, and in the beauty of second chances. And now, 3.5 decades later, that heartbeat returns. But here's the truth. This is not the same story. It cannot be. The world has changed. We have changed. And so has Vivian Ward. She is no longer the girl who dreamed of escaping her life. She is the woman who has lived it, stumbled through it, and found her strength inside of it. When Julia Roberts steps back into that role, audiences won't just see Vivian, they will see themselves. The dreams they had, the losses they've faced, the lessons they've carried. Pretty Woman 2. A second chance is more than a sequel. It is a mirror that asks, what do we do with the time we've been given? Do we let love fade, or do we fight to keep it alive? Do we cling to the past, or do we dare to build a new future? For Edward and Vivian, the answers will not come easily. Love stories never do. There will be doubt, conflict, and heartbreak. There will be choices that test not only their bond but their very sense of self. And yet underneath it all, there will be hope. The same hope that lit up a hotel balcony in 1990 when a man with flowers climbed a fire escape to win a woman's heart. The beauty of this new chapter lies not in repeating the past, but in reimagining it. Rodeo Drive will shine again, but not as a playground for extravagance. This time, it's a stage for empowerment. The grand hotels will stand tall again, not as cages of wealth, but as backdrops for new beginnings. Every iconic moment will echo, but with deeper meaning, because it's no longer about a fairy tale beginning. It's about a fairy tale surviving. Audiences in December 2025 will sit in dark theaters, surrounded by strangers yet feeling something deeply personal, As the lights flicker and Julia Roberts' face fills the screen, there will be a collective breath, a pause between memory and discovery.